All right, guys, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian Farmers Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Wednesday, the 12th. Well, we're basically haven't moved much for the week. Looking at how we finished for the day, pretty nasty sell-off, especially right around 1:30 to 2:30, 3 o'clock. We kind of hung in there for about a half hour, and then we went lower. So I'll go over that price action in just a second. Really, in the cues I was watching, really get hit pretty hard. But if you kind of look at where we are at this point, we had this hammer that happened on what's today, Wednesday, I guess. So this was Monday, and big hammer bar on Monday. Tuesday we tried to rally, failed. Wednesday we tried to rally, failed. So if you look at the bodies of the candle, we are, from where we were on Monday, slowly moving up, but this is another rejection, I would say, in terms of not getting into the. This is the December value area, so not much again to go on. I kind of feel like every time I do one of these videos at the end of the day, for the last couple weeks, I just seem to be reiterating the same thing, and which is, we're really going sideways right now, and if you're looking to add swing trades, it's really difficult. These are the toughest. Some of these days are the toughest things in the world because unless you added trades on the close the last 2 or 3 days, really that's been the biggest bang for your buck is to basically add on the close and then take them off in the first hour or so. Trying to kind of set up somewhat neutral going into the day, seeing that we gap up, and today was more of a tease than we had yesterday. So let's go. Let me go through. I'll look at the Q's bar as well. Qs are in value. They are a tiny bit higher. They did finish up 90 basis points. It is quite comical to say that, hey, we finished up 90 basis points. But looking at this price action, just really cannot sustain a move. So I think looking at this on the 5 minute bar will kind of help a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we're getting this tease, right? The tease is I almost had my finger on buying puts this morning, and I said, let's, I thought we could kind of hang in there, and we did move higher, and saw a lot of call buying, I would say, in the first couple hours of the day. And then right after lunchtime, I took a late lunch today. I come back and there was an awful lot of Qs puts that were bought today. So I have these in my spreadsheet for the day. You can kind of see what I mean. But they kind of hammered these Qs. These were right in that zone of where we kind of turned and started to fade. In a normal day, we come back and kind of check back to the 50-day moving average, kind of hold, maybe chop a little bit, but we're just continuing to fall. Here, a couple of things that I'm noticing too is for a lot of these bars, they start green, and then if you notice, they end up red. So we could not reclaim the 20 period moving average here. We tried again here. This was right 20 minutes before the close, and then a washout at the end of the day. And you can see the Qs are still weak here after hours. So someone wanted to get out of risk pretty decently. If you're looking for an explanation for this, I know people are searching for headlines trying to say the cause of this. I just think these institutions are still kind of doing what they're doing and taking advantage of an up move and selling right now. So that's the environment that we're in. I think, again, very tricky to have us gap up, start to go higher, because you kind of think that, hey, we're finally turning the corner. You start to look at some individual stock setups and you're like, hey, this doesn't look pretty, this is setting up for some names to kind of move higher. But it seems like I'm anyway, getting to the same place at the end of the day is, hey, you gotta kind of have to wait for a little bit more confirmation. So what did I do today? I was lucky enough to take some profits on Salesforce. This did finish up again. It looks like it's not that great of a bar. It did finish up 2.4%. So I was able to take two targets today and get out of the majority of that trade now for some nice profits. And that also, just to kind of share with you what I'm doing, is basically hitting singles and doubles. I think for the most part, if you manage to get a trade kind of to do what you think it's going to do, and you get a nice big winner, that's great. But I think for the most part, just continuing to kind of scalp back and forth, and take advantage of this volatility. And you just really have to pay attention to when the market when it changes. So I did not. I was saying yesterday I kind of took advantage of buying puts on the open. I did not do that today. I was under the assumption, and again, this is kind of clouds your thinking a little bit, but you just kind of have to watch the price action and say once this maybe broke the 50-day moving average, gave you an indication that something was up to kind of play to the downside. And I think things, playing things on both sides, right? To be able to buy puts. I do hear the comment a couple times now that, hey, if I buy puts, that's when the market really rips to the upside. I think, and I said this in the weekend newsletter as well. I think if we were back where we were a couple years ago, right, you can make that point that whenever you buy puts, the market actually goes up. But we're not in that environment. We are not in the environment that we were a couple years ago. So, yeah, I mean, I think playing puts when you're selling the rip on both sides, and if you did that today, let's just talk about this just for a minute of buying puts because I know some traders are still having a tough time, and again, and it's tough to kind of get back in the habit of buying puts again. But if you bought puts up here, I think you want to wait for, that break of maybe the 50-day moving average, rising this up, right? That was a good catch yesterday, too. Once we kind of broke below the 50-day moving average. But I think that the 20-day may be a little bit too critical. But I think the 50 has been working well. Just kind of looking at how this price action for the last couple days, that's where you could do it, or really if you're going to stay long and to kind of lock in your profits for the day, that's probably where you want to be doing it. To say, hey, this is basically it, and it's the other thing that's always difficult as a trader is to not be greedy, right? For instance, I was up nicely for the day. A good chunk of change. And, in the back of your mind, you always want a little bit more, right? I mean, you always think, oh, well, if we could continue to kind of continue to grind higher, I could be up a little bit, I could be up X more amount of money. But I think right now you have to be content with saying, hey, I've had a good day. Let's kind of basically call it a day and then look to see, at around half day session, look and say, hey, I'll come back to this at the end of the day, and we'll see how the charts are going to shape up for possibly, for looking at swing trades, right? Because I do think, and I continue to say that, putting on trades at the end of the day, swing trades, where you can kind of see where the closing print is, which is the most important, is definitely paramount. So, a couple names that kind of day trading a little bit back and forth today. Amazon, I want to go to the hourly in Amazon. It closed basis. So again, like I was saying with the indices, some are actually, making, they are making a little bit of higher lows, right? You could see from Monday, here was your low. If you look at the candle close and not the wick at the end of the candle, you could see this was the low, and then yesterday I think this was the low, and then today. So it is a higher low if you really want to be optimistic. But I think this could be setting up for a trade for the rest of the week, but it's got to maintain this 1667 level, right at that bottom of value for King Amazon. And I can go through some of these other names, but Netflix is in value. I just look like Amazon was a little bit of an easier setup because I do see some things that got basically to the top of value. I bought a little bit of PayPal today, and I was looking for that move to the top of value, and it looks like we just missed it. But so I did add PayPal. I like this name because it's been holding up pretty well. So I'm in. I did add a couple trades today that. I think this is actually lower than my cost basis, and I could have taken a target in PayPal, but that's why I had mentioned it was a starter position. But it got right to this top of. So again, waiting to the end of the day. I can give you examples of my mistakes, but waiting to the end of the day, so much better. Now it could still work out, but again, this is another ugly looking candle. What else do we see today? We'll just kind of bring up some of today's early option activity. Twitter, yeah, I mean, so here's the thing with Twitter, right? Let's see where Twitter closed, by the way. But man, was that off too. I mean, it does, in this kind of fragmented tape that we've got going on, it does look like Twitter. So Twitter did not do bad. Finished up, considering the end of day sell off, still finished up 5.2%. Uh, a lot of call, probably today the biggest call activity, like aggressive call activity. And usually, I don't know, that my opinion is a lot of times these guys are really late. So 1.6, this is a big trade. This happened at 11 o'clock this morning. So always foot this to what time, just to kind of, give yourself a sense of where this came in. Where's 11:14? Right at the high of the day, they came in. So if you bought those Twitter calls, so this is the thing about, using your judgment with call activity, right? Because you don't know who is the level of savviness for somebody trading this, but whoever bought these calls today did this at 11:14, right? So that's at the damn high of the day. So again, you got to say, forget about it. For me, you missed it, right? And just move on to another trade. But yeah, I mean, they're laying down $1 million here. So maybe, maybe if it gets above 37.14, interesting. I have a trend line drawn in here from someplace, and that's as far as we went. That's an old trend line, but it looks like it's valid. Oh, maybe from all the way back here, I had this drawn and then it fell on earnings. But yeah, I mean, another example of, taking a look at what goes on in the tape and just saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to pass, and say that's not the right place that I would want to add a trade. In here, where we've been kind of analyzing this Twitter trade, it was a great place, but I don't know so much in here. I mean, it's also going to hit this earnings gap as well, which it also. But I would definitely keep this name on your watch list. So that's good to start off with this one. A few other trades, ZAYO, very small trades, but still came up aggressive on my sheet. A little bit of Western Digital, which is a name that has just really gotten beaten up. I took a shot at some of these, but it did not work for the day. Again, really beaten up, just looking for like a quick bounce, which clearly did not happen. Let me talk a little bit about the Morgan Stanley calls that we've seen now for 2 days in a row. There's a nice chart to reference here in Morgan Stanley. There's a virgin point of control. If we look at, let me just make sure I've got the right, I think I want this one actually. But you could see this was tagged. So I tried, I bought a little bit of more, again, small, I'm trading very small, but I did try, you could see this virgin point of control right here. May just take my chart a second to update. But you have a virgin point of control right here, and we tagged that thing. So could be a reversal coming in Morgan Stanley. Somebody seems to really like it. Here was the order in it. This order was tied January 42 calls, but this one was not. This was the January 25th, and these were the ones that I bought. I think I bought these for 96 cents today. Again, I had the option to take a target, and I got a little bit greedy. Was looking for about, first target about 15-20%, and just did not get that. Could have taken a 10% target. These were the 44 calls. What was the size of this trade? Let's see, premium $300,000 on it, and we saw some yesterday. Another trade that I think is interesting at this point, and I did structure a trade on this one as well today, so I was active trading today. Another virgin point of control taken out here in, this is FedEx, right? Pretty oversold, so I'm playing for a bounce. I went into some December short put spreads. All I need is just maybe one nice green bar, and that trade should work for me within the next week, provided that it doesn't go much lower. I think it's pretty oversold. It's a 23 RSI, and that's the nice thing about options is you can customize a trade where basically you're taking advantage of the heightened volatility to see what you could do. Another area that I'm interested in right now is the emerging markets. There was a lot of activity in BABA today, but it just didn't close right once again. So again, continues to kind of be on my watch list. It is above the 50-day moving average, but I've got to see what I would be looking for here in BABA is a close above 155.81. Similarly, the Chinese, the whole group, the Chinese internet group, also is above the 50-day moving average, but not but inside value. So 44.55 the level there, and then last one that I'm looking at in the emerging market space is strictly just EEM, also inside value. Needs to get above 41.39 to trigger a breakout there. All right, so that's it. I could go on and on over charts, but what was the other thing to show? I'll continue to kind of monitor these sectors when we get these gap ups. And you could see the ones that finished higher from the open today was the FANG ETF, gold miners. I continue to be in a little bit of ABX. ABX did finish up 3% today, so it's back to this high. I'm playing for a move up to 16. I know another name that people have been watching is this KL. That's at this point looks very toppy to me. It's an 82 RSI. Or you could just trade the ETF, of course, which is also trying to make it above or back above this range. So yeah, the gold miners were the best performing after the open. Also, biotech held in there okay. Anything here is positive. Small caps, possibly a doji. I didn't go over that chart, but don't think I need to right this second. REITs gave back a lot of the gains. Tech, metals and mining, energy again. We go over in the pre-market session, what looks like a very green candle, and I kind of say the same thing every morning when oil is up a lot. Right around 9 o'clock in the morning. I just said wait till the end of the day for crude. Crude took another. Did it close on the lows? Crude was actually one of the first things to get hit really hard today, but it just looks ugly. It just cannot. Same thing cannot hold any early pre-market action. So bear market continues there. All right, guys, that's it for today. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.